You up live?
Yep. So, what's that? And I have a whole thing, so I have to do water. I have a little bottle. It's 2-3 minutes. Shoot. I'm gonna share with you too, okay? Do you want to go into it's always a little one, ready. Hey,
Yep. Every day.
Anyway, it's always but try to avoid it. You want to do you want to talk about that point? What point? Of the bridge between young people's actions and struggles and older people that went through the same thing? Yeah. Okay. So we'll do an episode of what they can. You know how to carry it. I carry it. You know what I mean? All you gotta do is just grab the first thing I can get about.
We just do it.
Nah, let's do so people know we're gonna do an episode of what they can't see. Okay. Yeah. What they can't see, they be talking about bridge. You know. And well, it'll be positive because we're talking about the bridge, closing the bridge. I can't stay mad when the song. I'm coming in heated. The song comes up by the time. See, if I have to jump right on that, so shows when people got it a little hot, unfortunately. Oh, do we have? I gotta pull up the running notes. So because I promised I would read the resources. So November 22nd, AHF, that's what's that organization again?
Which one? UMS? No. Yeah, man. We gotta talk about these water bills too.
That's what I plan on. I have a nice intro to that, and then we can kind of spark some questions.
I need to talk to you off air.
Oh.
So we can get some understanding before we, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, we live. Maybe we should keep our live for right with Jeff Boys. What was the What was the article about?
It was November 12th. It was recent. It was about water.
What was it about? Like, was it about the water bill?
Yeah, it was the water bill. It was,
23 hours ago. In the face of water shrubs. Rate increase, was it, do you know what it was?
that's what we talked about yesterday.
Was it the woman facing the cutoff over disputed bills?
It was a protest.
I'll talk to you after the show. Mom will talk to you after the show. But let's
We can talk about something quick that we can maybe relating to, maybe we should wait.
we gotta talk off air. Yeah, we can bring it back, but we gotta talk off air about this is about some specific things. And we already up live, so I just have to wait.
Okay, so we'll do the welcome, quick welcome. I'll do the resources because I promised folks I would go into the resources. And then I'll do the water situation, which I'm going to read it, something that I'm going to just discuss. I want to explain to people our situation. So I'm going to re-explain that. And then from there, we're going to things they can't see, JP.
10 out.
Okay.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Let those guitar strings roll. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Jackson, Mississippi in the United States of America to Make It Make Sense Jackson. I am your host, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, alongside my co-host,
Keanu Beard,
a.k.a. KP, a.k.a. Young Man. So when you hear me say Young Man here in the studio, generally, I'm talking to him. Sometimes that 6 month difference between me and my producer may invoke me to call him young man, but very rarely.
Don't lie to the people. Don't lie to the
They
people.
don't lie to the people, right? I gotta make it seem like I'm in here, the youngest one in here. I'm not. But welcome back to our, what would you call the end of a leg? You know, in basketball or in football, it's a double header. This is the last show of the week for us on the radio. The rest of our shows, the rest of our content is going to be online or social media. But as I always say to you all, I hope everyone had a peaceful evening. I hope as many of us that left came home as possible, and I just hope that something in your life went well between the last time we spoke. That I genuinely pray for our listening audience. Jumping over to my partner over here, KP. How are you doing, my brother? How was your evening? Or how was the time from when we last talked to the people?
Concerning, there's a lot to talk about. I will be putting some of it into my segment, what they can't see or what they don't see, to explain a big gap between the black community, in the black community, that we need to address, because it's a lot of things that's not as bright view as they should be in the black community, that's causing us to be at a detrimental rate, and it's a screwball. It's messing our heads up, and it's not putting us somewhere where we can focus on the things that's really destroying us.
Absolutely. When you know I do, and I think this is a very important session, so I hope folks are listening. And if you have been listening to us long enough, when you hear KP speak that much at the beginning, it is probably a hint that an episode of What They Don't See is incoming. And if you thought that, you are 100% correct. So, at least monthly we try to do an episode of What They Don't See, where we want to approach things, especially in our city. The youth are so important. We don't want to just sit and talk about them. We want to hear from them, and that's what this episode is. So what KP will do is he goes through the community, and not just his friends, his family members, but just young people that wouldn't talk to us necessarily. He talks to them and he asks them questions like, what bothers you about the situation? Why aren't we getting better? What bothers you about the older generation?
Right.
And then he's going to bring that to us. So I only interrupt because it's going to be a good session. We're going to jump into that in an episode of things that they don't see today. We're going to do we have a few stops first, right, KP? And then we're going to jump right into it. So, yeah, but I'm glad you're doing okay. I know it was a long night, and I know you've been through a lot because you've been researching all night, but we're going to get into it deeply. So from one thing that I want to do that I promised the people that we would do, I thought you would show me something, and that I want to start with generally is our resources. We know that even though, the quote SNAP benefits will start to resume partially what was announced in what's beginning, we know that our overall goal here at Make It Make Sense, and with most of our folks, is to make sure we're never in a position where somebody can pull something back from us, and that dictates what our next step is. So we will continue to build the network and to let you know about places that are helping the community, and you in turn just have the accountability of letting somebody that's hungry know, somebody with a family know, especially those in our community that are just making it. They're the most dangerous ones to starve or to go without and not say anything. Those folks that may have a job but not food to put on the table for their children, right? They may have a job but not enough money to pay the electric bill, so they're freezing at night. Sometimes we've got to reach out to those people that we know are hurting and may not have, may not feel comfortable speaking up. So what we have now is we have AHF, who did a wonderful event giving out food, will be hosting a food distribution in Mendenhall on November 22nd. And the head of that, Ms. Sharon, will be providing us additional info, and we will be providing that for you. Boys and Girls Club of Central Mississippi is hosting a food giveaway Thursday, November 20th. We are double checking on whether it's open to the public or just club members, but we are hoping that that's open to the public. And we did reach out to them, and the information we got was it is open to the public on a first come, first served basis. So that just means things will probably go pretty quickly. Jack and Jill and Footprints Farms food distribution Thursday, November 29th at Jackson Medical Mall at 9 a.m. 200 food boxes will be distributed on that event. On the 29th is a community-wide partnership and is scheduled to begin at 9 a.m. at the Jackson Medical Mall. That's 350 Woodrow Wilson Avenue. So I say the food count box, we find out as much as we can to just say, if you've got children, if you know that there's a gap that needs to be closed, try to get out there as early as possible. And we're going to continue here at Make It Make Sense to provide as many what we call rebuilding the network pieces as we can. And hopefully what will happen is as we go on with this, and because they hear me clearly, you can repeat that?
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, so I'm sorry. It seems like our mics weren't on. That's our fault in here. But what I was doing was I was reading off the resources at the beginning of each show. We're reading the resources for the community, and I was just emphasizing, I won't go all through what I was saying again. I was just emphasizing that those in our community that are barely making it, if you know someone of that nature, sometimes those are the ones that are not going to open their mouth, or that are embarrassed, that feel like they should be making it because they're surrounded by a lot of people that are making it, but sometimes it's a lot of us not making it, pretending. So when I read the resources, if you know someone that needs it, just make sure they know about it. So we had AHF, who's hosting a food distribution in Mendenhall on November 22nd. Ms. Sharon, who is the lead there, will be providing us with additional information. Hopefully we'll have her on as well to talk more about that, because AHF has been doing a lot. Boys and Girls Club, that's Mendenhall on November 22nd. Boys and Girls Club of Central Mississippi is hosting a food giveaway Thursday, November 20th. That location is 1450 West Capitol Street. It is open to the public, but it's a first come, first served basis. So you want to get there as early as possible when that's announced. Jack and Jill in Footprint Farms food distribution Thursday, November 29th at Jackson Medical Mall, 9 a.m. They will have 200 food boxes. So that's first come, first serve as well. And that's at the Jackson Medical Mall, 350 West Woodrow Wilson Avenue on the 29th. If you want to volunteer, you can show up as well to help. But those are just a few of the places that are helping give out food, and we need to make sure that that's passed on to other folks. Anyway, I'm missing that you can think of. Did that cover pretty much everywhere? I think that's most of it. That's most of them. Okay. And we're going to continue to do that. Like I said, rebuilding the network is just making sure we don't have to depend on others, and we can start to provide for our community. It's not enough for us to get on this show every day and talk to you over and over again about the ills that are being done and about how, our city is being attacked from within to ensure that our children and our future is not here. We've got to find ways to provide when that's being done. So, so that's that.
All right, we can get some more of these articles.
Okay, let's do an article, and then when we do the water one, then I'll talk about a little bit of clarifying what's happening with the water. Okay.
Contractors and Jackson Youth build, renovate houses in blighted West Jackson neighborhood. Contractors are turning the youth to help rebuild vacant houses in West Jackson. One carpenter returns to his childhood neighborhood to remove the decades of decay, and is getting a hand from the next generation. He says, in quotation, "I just see the help is needed, and I guess I can be that help," said, I don't want to mispronounce your name, with Sean Hobson.
Yes.
Hobson is now renovating a vacant house on Christian Street in his childhood neighborhood. It is the third house on the street that he and his crew have repaired. I feel like that needs, like how you were just talking about us taking care of ourselves. That is a start. Going back into your childhood neighborhoods, or just, starting somewhere where you are self-governing some type of assistance for your people and the next generation. Not depending on these people that's going to raise the property taxes and come in and buy all these houses up and these blighted areas, the dilapidated houses, and just mess the neighborhood up and gentrify it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Being self-governed.
They're doing for self, making sure that we can, the community governance. Yeah, I 100%. 100%. I think that's an excellent way for folks to try to rebuild things that were lost. 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that what it does, it also gives a sense of pride. And it also makes folks understand, if I can build my own house, do you get what I mean?
Exactly.
Then I don't have to depend on you for the cost. And to go further, I mean, the reality is that the folks we're depending on aren't doing much for us. So, I think it's very important. That's a good one. I'm looking at it now. I pull it up while we talk. But I see that the participants will continue construction progress through January. Jackson Youth Build participants who work on the sites are paid a $400 stipend every 2 weeks through a Department of Labor grant. Now, and hopefully those are houses that are being moved. Like when you talk about Sharon, who we just talked about, who does the housing and builds up there, and then make sure people can live in those houses afterwards from the community. I just pray that the Jackson Youth Build is doing the same thing. Because $400 every 2 weeks is, on one hand, it's a great stipend and a way to help young people, but if they're working for you now, that's an amazing rate. I'm just joking. I'm saying $400 every 2 weeks is a great amount to pay to build up some houses. But as you know, when we talked about with the neighborhood organizations we just walked through in West Jackson, I mean, if you're creating that so your people have somewhere to live in the state, that's wonderful. I'm being funny, but what I'm saying is, we always on the lookout for folks creating that to go sell those houses and make money.
Oh, yeah,
At which point, then we get a little more.
No, it's great to mention that too. I didn't think about that like you did.
I love that you did. I love that you're just looking at the help part. It's an ugly job sometimes, but I love that you're looking at the good in that because you should.
Yeah. We missed a call.
Oh, he dropped off. Yeah, no. I think that my skepticism, and I'm very open with it. My skepticism is proven. My skepticism comes from facts. But if you called in, we missed you. We would love to hear you even at the beginning. 601-948-5950. I was trying to answer you. Yeah, we got it.
Make sense call. You on there?
Hello.
Broken to make sense call. Yes, sir.
Yes, I just wanted to say a few things. I appreciate everything you guys are doing, and we really need to hear it. I just had a comment about it was a guy that called in last week saying he was from Chicago. He had 30 acres of land.
I remember him.
He was from Chicago. He came down here and got 30 acres of land and saying he voted for Trump. And I just want to say, wherever I hope if he's listening, I want to say you a fool. He a fool because Emmett Till came from Chicago to Mississippi and was murdered by the white folks. And any black person in any sense know that you don't vote for no white folks. Especially black folks from Chicago should know that. And he say he's from Chicago. He came to Mississippi. He got 30 acres of land. He voted for Trump. He needs somebody to find him and put something on him.
What you got to
He
do?
don't need to be nowhere.
Mississippi teach.
No kind of power, no kind of land. Somebody needs to we need to take his land from him.
No, you're right.
He don't deserve his land.
You're right.
He's so ignorant.
Yeah.
He don't even know in the field, these folks, the stuff they did in the field, and he don't know nothing about that. He from Chicago.
Yep. No, I appreciate you, brother. I mean, that call stuck in my head. So you are accurate, and I read, as soon as you said Chicago, and then they were calling from a certain place, and I say this just because so many times you all help us, and I appreciate you more than you know, brother. Keep listening to us. But a young lady, if you remember, called right behind him, and all I'll say is the caller ID was the exact same, and it was a government building. That's all I'll say. I think it's important to talk about that. It showed, and then one of our callers called in and said, "Hey, don't worry about the other fellas." It was some different people calling. They're calling from this show. I'm not going to mention the show. And they're just calling to throw you off guard. When people start to throw you off, right? I've been told, I don't want to hear what you have to say enough to know the difference between someone that's just as sick of hearing you talk and someone that's sick of hearing what you're talking about. And right now, we're getting a lot of folks that are sick of hearing what we're talking about. So yeah, and I think one of the reasons leading into this next, do I have time to read? Yeah. Leading into this next part is that I think it's because, remember guys, our goal here at Make It Make Sense is not to get on here and be liked. It's not to get on here and to battle with any other talk show because we don't consider ourselves a talk show. We love the freedom that being a radio host gives us, right, KP? Because we can say what's needed to be said. But yeah, we're just here to give you information and then to hope we can build a better community from it. So in that light, you'll remember yesterday's call. We had a young lady that called in her situation, and if you're listening, that we will be talking to you today. Of course, when you call, just know this: I'm going to do a lot of research on every piece of information that you give us on that call before I reach back out to you. So always, and I've got 6 children in a regular job. Always give me 48 to 72 hours to get back to you, okay? But put me on blast if I don't, because I guarantee you I will. But she called us and she essentially told us a story, KP, that you and I have heard when Trace with Apartments, everywhere we went. Yeah. We've heard over and over again. I had a $5,000 bill, $7,000, $4,000 bill that was not mine. There's no way I could have ran it up. I disputed it and kept paying my regular bill. And now I'm being told either I pay it or I get cut off. So she called in yesterday and we agreed to help her and to try to connect her with, by helping what I say is this: I'm no genius, but first validate that it's wrong, and then connect her with the entities that have already started legal action to help residents like her, like you all. But with that thought in my mind,
I was just gonna say we're gonna check her form. If her form's not in, then we'll call.
That's right. I already checked it and it's not. So what I'm gonna do is I was just gonna do the form with her. The
right.
form he's talking about, my producer's talking about, is on our Facebook page. We have a order form where you can let us know that you've gone through every step you're supposed to. But if you don't do this, you're not gonna have many outlets if you haven't done some other action to document it. If it didn't go on paper, it didn't happen. So you need to Go look at that form. If none of that form applies to you, then go about your day. You've just wasted 5 minutes, and that's fine. But look at that and see if you've already gone through those steps and you're still being held accountable for a bill. That's where this next part comes in. So go on to our Facebook page, It Make Sense JXN, and you'll see KP and me on there. And then go ahead and look for that form. Scroll down and you'll see the form. I believe I pinned it. If I didn't, I will. But that form is for you to give your story of what happened. It's for you to tell what happened to you. And you're going to learn more in this during the show about why that's important. But all of this surrounding water made me realize that, and especially, and I tell everybody, we're accountable for our expertise. And as a former, director, executive, manager, all the way down the line, supervisor, understanding utilities, I wanted to slow it down a little bit, KP, and talk to the people about what it is. Let me just say that.
Understanding utility.
Yes, understanding your water utility under the third-party order, because that changes everything. Because without a third-party order, a lot of the things that are happening to you in Jackson, and I'm telling you this, Target Blue 12, you will be protected by the protection that the Public Service Commission provides you right here in Mississippi. Now, to a degree, the Public Service Commission has been neutralized now because a federal order has overtaken that. But you may not understand the protection you had versus what you have, and that may be why it's so easy to get so many of us in a trick bag. So let's take a few minutes and just go over what it means, understanding what we stood to gain by getting nearly $1 billion and where we stand now, okay? And very rarely will I take you through this book way, but I talk so much, I wrote this more for me to stay on pace than for you to have to listen. So we're at a place now where I just said, KP and I are going out, and this is the same story we're getting. People are opening bills, and the bills don't make sense. And that's how it started. This don't even make sense. That's just how it started. Mm-hmm. I don't know this. This doesn't make sense. And the numbers was astounding. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what does it make? You have a few hundred? No, it's thousands. And I don't even bill more than $60 a month, right? Some folks have tried to dispute the bill and been told there's nothing that they can do, and that's the caller you heard yesterday. She said openly, I disputed it, I told them it wasn't mine, I paid my regular bill, and now I'm told either pay $1,000 or I cut you off, right? Mm-hmm. And I need you to understand why that's not, in regular society, why that wouldn't be okay. Let's be clear. Let's start with the federal order. The federal order that placed Jackson's water system under third-party management wasn't a punishment. It was a lifeline, right? Because it was put there to unlock nearly $1 billion in funding that the state had refused to help Jackson, Mississippi with. Be very clear. That's where the third party came from. It brought in what was supposed to be professionals to stabilize our system and start long overdue repairs that the state had refused to do. But as we move forward, we have to understand the trade-off, and the protections we had as customers have changed. And that's what I don't think Jacksonians are understanding. They don't understand the gaps we have to fill for ourselves right now. So, before this order, there was a state referee in place. We're going to call it a state referee. The Mississippi Public Service Commission, or the MPSC. Our representative still is, even though he can't do what he used to do, is DeKeither Stamps, right? We're going to talk about what DeKeither can and can't do, which is not a lot right now, right?
About the water.
About the water. Thank you very much for that clarification. About the water, because the sewer is not under that order. That's the water. So they made sure, the Public Service Commission made sure, and think about what's happening to you now. They made sure no utility could charge you without proof. No one could shut you off without warning or reason. And if your bill didn't add up, you had the right to challenge it with an outside agency, a state agency, watching the process. So that means that before, you didn't just call Jackson Water or any company and say, hey, what's this bill about? And they say, well, you owe it now, you have to pay it. No. If you didn't agree with that, you reached out to the Public Service Commission and said, yeah, I didn't know that. And then the Public Service Commission got involved as the go-between. And so when you were told you owe $4,000, the Public Service Commission said, hold tight, Miss Thomas, from yes, hold tight. Look, how does she owe that, Jackson Water? Show me. That was your protection, okay? And now, what did they require? They could require meter checks. They could pause disconnections during disputes. They could hold public hearings, demand documentation of where charges came from, and even order refunds when customers were right. This was the protection you had in place. Now, the protection left for a good reason. I just think a lot of you all don't realize it left. And what took its place, and you didn't hold what took its place, which is Judge Wingate, accountable, and that's why we're here. So, think about what that meant in practice. Everything I said, with the Mississippi, Public Service Commission meant in practice. At Blossom Apartments, more than 100 families lost water, and then they got kicked out. Not because they didn't pay, but because the landlord didn't. Under the Public Service Commission protection, that never would have stood. The commission could have stepped in, they could have ordered them to keep the water running for those families, and they could have made sure the landlords carry the debt, not the tenants. That's what regulatory protection is built to do, right? So today, Jackson, we are under Jackson Water's federal management, right? There is a complaint process, but it's handled entirely in-house. This is how the order is written up. There's no independent referee overseeing the billing dispute. The same office that sends the bill decides if it's right or wrong, or Judge Wingate. So yes, there's a process, but it doesn't have the outside oversight residents once relied upon when you could reach out to DeKeither and say, this isn't right, what's going on here, and he could reach out and say, you either prove that or you give her a refund, you give him a refund. That's why so many people are still waiting for explanations that make sense, and they're losing their water before they get that explanation. Because they don't understand that they're waiting for something that is not due to them under the stipulations of this order. Right? So if you don't understand that, then you're in a position where you're getting pushed down on. If you do understand it, we can start building community systems that push public tracking, legal clinics, direct advocacy, and we can hold these people responsible for giving us what we need. And for the Mississippi Public Service Commission, they may no longer have full authority here, but they still have the expertise. They know utilities, they know rates, they know customers' rights. And even if that's no longer your legal job, it's still within their power and their conscience to speak up when thousands of Mississippians are struggling for fairness. So understand that. I know that you can't move and require, but you're the doctor in the elevator on your winter break while someone's choking in that elevator. Yeah, you have no requirement at the time. Maybe you do, but you don't have to say anything. But those that are experts and know what's going on is wrong, you've got to speak up, right? Because state regulators have stayed silent. So who has to stay silent? So someone called us yesterday and said to us, well, they're charging us too high. I said, that's right. Remember I said, well, that's right. She said, that my water's not even clean. I said, that's right. She said, how can they do this? I said, because we didn't stand up when groups did. And we're going to keep repeating that so you understood who fought for you and who you can go to for help. So the People's Advocacy Institute, along with Mississippi's Poor People Campaign, are the only ones that were fighting for what's happening right now. So early on, they weren't. They were called troublemakers, racists. They weren't early on that without transparency, I'm reading verbatim, without transparency and oversight, residents would face the exact billing chaos we're seeing today. They asked for community input, open records, and local control. And when no one listened, they took the fight to court. So, and which paid off just a little bit. A federal judge granted both groups, both the Poor People's Campaign and People's Advocacy Institute, the right to intervene in the same lawsuit that created Jackson Water. So you wonder why people are dumping on those organizations so much. Well, because they're the only entities that have been deemed legal representatives that can bring your problem forth outside of Jackson Water. And Ms. Thompson from last night, I don't want to use the curse word, but forget you, pay me. That's what residents are telling us they're being told. Yep. Give me 1,000 and then break down another 3,000. I don't want to hear anything else. Right? So it's important to say that these are the two groups that now have the right. They're backed by the Center for Constitutional Rights, Forward Justice, the ACLU of Mississippi, a legal team pushing for the same thing that now all the residents are asking us.
Including the judge who said...
Including Judge Wingate. Now he's saying, hold on a second, Ms. Hannafin, now Jackson Water has to have A, B, and C.
Same things they were asking for from the beginning.
And these are those conversations that a lot of people want to speed by, Jackson. So that you get that wool pulled over your eyes and you don't understand how these things interact. Real transparency, fair billing, open bidding. These things seem silly to most Jacksonians a year ago. And I always say to you, when Dr. King's organization brings something forward, no matter what you think about their direction in the last 10 years, as the caller said, and they get called racist for doing that, that should be a red flag to have people lean in more. So that's how we got here. We will never stop telling you how we got here because our whole show, KP, is based on the medical idea. We're going to tell you where the heartburn came from.
Yep, facts.
So, that's right. But what standing up looks like yesterday, my producer thanked that young lady that called in and said, thank you for your courage. Thank you for not worrying about people judging you for not being able to pay that bill and saying, I can't pay $4,000, right? Without it hurting me and breaking me, right? But you realize the story can't be told without us. So what she did, we got to start doing. If you've been overbilled, shut off, ignored, go to our website, look at the form, make sure you're doing what Jackson Water is giving you the steps for. And we are very, PDI and my dude, we're very exhausted at looking at the updated site every day to see what they're asking for. So what we mean is, did you call in and say, I didn't do this? Did you ask them why you're being charged so high?
And what phrases do they need to use? You want to dispute the bill.
You want to dispute your bill. Thank you very much. Did you say the phrase, I want to dispute my bill? Do you realize if you didn't, and they pull that recording, you've been on that phone for 30 minutes screaming about how that's not yours and you don't understand it. But at no point did you tell them, and this is what the legal language is saying when you say, I want to dispute my bill. That's telling the company under regular business, I want to put that bill amount in a claim where I don't owe it and it doesn't disappear, and I can pay the rest of my bill and keep my service on. But if you never make that statement, I am disputing $3,012.37 of my bill because I don't believe those are my charges. Then you have never started the process, and then you can simply be told that you were cut off because you never started the process correctly.
Well, make sense. Call you on You there, call?
Welcome to Make It Make Sense. Caller, you're on the air.
How are you doing? It's Monica Thomas again.
Man, we sitting up here talking about you, Miss Thomas. How are you?
I hear ya. No, I hear ya. Honestly, I just want to, I heard Brad have this one time about something about welfare. I didn't tell y'all that I was, hello? Can you hear
Oh,
me?
no, we can hear you, and I heard you call in and ask who that was. I'm on it. I do my homework. I heard you call in and ask that.
Yeah, no, I didn't call this morning, but I heard Brad, he talking about some welfare, this and that. Once again, I'm not trying to take up your show, and I need y'all to explain to me why y'all getting off the air.
Say it again.
Say that again, Mr. Did we lose you?
Why y'all getting off the air?
Well, no, who's getting off the air?
I thought that said this was gonna be our last show, and y'all gonna be on the web.
No, listen, you know what? My son tells me I'm one of the least clear people in the world. I was saying we have 3 shows a week. This is the last show of the week. And thank you, anyone listening, this is our last show of the week. I'm sorry, y'all. No, of the week.
Well, I just want to piggyback on what he was talking about welfare. I was paying I agreed to pay $50 a month. Even though this bill is not mine, and I've been said to work with you from day one. But I'm just saying, just please, I'm waiting on your call 48 hours, 72, whatever.
But hold on, don't rush by that. Stay with me. Let me tell you something. See, this is the good thing, my sister. When you're talking about real stuff,
I need to work for y'all.
I know that. Are you talking about this morning when they were having the conversation where they were talking about people not working and they need to work a full week and instead of trying to be on welfare and not working hard enough?
No, Brett was saying something. Brett Hazard was saying something about what water is not a welfare, some system like.
That's right.
I was paying $50 a month. Like I said, I'm on a budget. I only got a month. You certain amount of money a month.
Get him.
I'm saying all that to say, I was paying like $50. You know,
Yes, ma'am.
because I know I use the trash or whatever, but.
They should say that
honestly,
one single house.
I don't know $4,000. They talking about
And-
years worth, but it still don't add up.
With one sink in the house, don't forget, where you were courageous enough to tell your story. With
No,
one.
I'm joking about the one.
Oh.
Thing, but I'm just saying. Honestly,
You have me on TV looking crazy, Miss Thomas. I appreciate you.
But honestly, I just use it. Honestly, to be honest, I've been buying bottled water, so I don't use it for anything but the toilet and, trying to freshen up. Because I just want y'all to know that I appreciate y'all acknowledging callers like me. Because I have a godmother out south. She had her water since 2009, and she live in her house by herself. She owned it.
Oh,
and
Lord.
they said she owed $68,000.
Jesus.
Oh my goodness. At that point, we're just trying to create a new
And
Jackson.
they been cut the water out 2009, and they still been on her.
2009?
That's what I say, $68,000. That is ridiculous.
No, this is a
She's
plot.
78 years old.
This is a plot.
That's a plot. Yeah, you're trying to change it. This is the new Jackson. This is a different. This to me is the South rising again. This is something you've had at play ever since Kane left office, and you saw an African American sitting there. And this is all of us together. This is what it is. And you found some folks that are friendly enough with you that they're going to allow you to push your plan through. And so many years before didn't.
Not to put y'all, but they're crying to me. These people be crying to me at dialysis. Like, they don't have a voice. I don't mind being a voice because I'm a black American. I'm a female. And I am proud to be in here in Mississippi where my dad is born and raised from. I'm from California. He went to the airport after Tougaloo and married my mom, whatever. So I was born up in Inglewood, California. And I'm just a proud American. It ain't about race.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
my mom always said, somebody do something to you, then you have a problem. I don't go on race. But right is right and wrong is wrong.
It's true.
And I'm going to be at David. I'm going to have if I can't go, my boyfriend's going to bring our bill to David Archie's meeting on the 25th.
right.
But I'm not getting off of here because I'm trying to take over your show. But
Well, we're going to talk again anyways, because I'm going to give you a call so we can do that form this evening, if that's okay with you.
Ask her if she might get an
okay, I
interview.
appreciate it. And thank y'all so much. Like I said, my family listening from California and everything. My auntie had to put a comment on y'all page. But y'all keep doing what y'all doing, brothers, and stay strong.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't give up on us.
I appreciate that more than you know, and we need it
love
sometimes.
Jackson.
Yes, we do.
I can go to California. I listen, babe. I can go anywhere. Guess what? My granddaddy passed. I own my house, and I love Jackson.
That's right.
I'm
That's right.
representing for whoever needs me to represent. Y'all have a blessed night, and God bless.
God bless you too, and thank you so much. We appreciate you more than you know. Okay, I love Jackson, but yeah, I mean, it's the people. It's us. I love it. We're going to and keep listening, sister, because a lot of times I let a lot of things keep going when I listen to them and I hear so much you all. But she was talking about the what was the show this morning? Brett Hazard. Brett was talking about it.
Who was Brett Hazard?
It's a show that comes on early in the morning, and I listen to, I try to support all the shows on 90.1, just FYI. I'm that type of person. When it's a local radio station, you could be talking bad about me, and I'm still going to listen to you because I'm trying to promote our station, and as long as you're not, trying to hurt people or being. But I was listening to the show this morning, and the comment that she's making, and you can call us, 601-948-5950, if you're listening to Brett talk this morning. And there's some things I agree with, but I definitely understand that I definitely disagree 100. And what he's got to understand is that there's a certain position from which you start to talk to people that it becomes a problem. You can't take a city, first off, that has not had good water, and as long as we haven't had good water, and then make the statement, and I heard the statement, it bothered me a little bit as well for the people, that you got to pay your water bill. Water is not welfare. Now, what he was referencing, to be 100% fair, he was referencing the report that was talking about how many folks did not pay their water bill, right? But what the impression that gives off is that you're starting with the bottom. You're starting with the people that were getting an inferior product, and you're focusing on them as the reason we're in this whole problem in the first place. When the whole problem is that the federal government had to intervene because we weren't getting the proper treatment that we deserved here in Jackson. So when you do that, even though there's factual what he was talking about, you put yourself in a position where you're saying something very insensitive. Now, the problem with that, Brett, is that on that show is that he then went on to say that now, one thing I agree with, he was talking about certain white radio hosts that only have a job because they talk about black people. Yeah. And I think he's absolutely correct about that. When you're right, you're right. And he said point blank period. So that he was talking about other white radio hosts, and I think that was very accountable of him to say that. However, he then went to talk about, can I get some black folks to say we're not going to improve our city until we give out some long sentences. Now, this is what the sister's talking about. So first he said, water's not welfare, you got to pay your bill, as if that's the problem here, and then go on to say, when folks in Jackson start advocating for heavier sentences for crime, maybe that's when we'll get some help. Now, what he was talking about, again, is something that we talk about every day in our community, right? Is holding each other accountable. But the problem is and this is what I think around this sister and a couple of other people that reached out to me the wrong way is, there's a lot of other things that white folks need to talk to white folks about here in Mississippi before you ever imply
For sure.
that the folks that are at the bottom need to talk to them, before you ever imply that black folk need to come up with tougher criminal laws in the state of Mississippi. You need to first talk to other white folks and say, when you see the city of Jackson being bled dry, when you see voucher systems setting up, and we have a history of being so atrocious with vouchers that the federal government said, Mississippi, you don't get to use them. And then you see it happening. Some folks will say, well, I see the good and the bad. No, if I'm sending my child in a house where you used to rape children, I don't see the good and bad. That's the house of an ex-rapist. I don't want you going in there unless there's some oversight. And that term rapist, if you look at what was done here in Mississippi in the 20s, 30s, it's 100% appropriate. If anything, it may be a little mild with the terror that was unleashed on African Americans here in the early 1900s. So, my sister, I won't back off of that. Some things I may not bring up or feel like bringing up because there's so many important things we have at hand. But when you get offended and you notice that I'm either going to support you or tell you I think it's a different picture. And I definitely understand why you were bothered with that, because for there to be a cry, and then the comment was then we need white people, so we need black people to have harsher sentences, and we need white people to find out what's happening with Sheriff Bailey and the Goon Squad. Sheriff Bailey, as sick as that Goon Squad is, they're not shutting down mental hospitals from here to the Delta. They're not making people drive 80 miles to go get a basic checkup. They're not trying to take over the airport. They're not trying to take over the water system. They're not taking the money from Jackson and pouring it into other cities and paving up other cities. So, to me, those type of smoke screens just speak to the intelligence level that some people think we're at. And I'm just talking about overall, right? That we would really look at the low beams and not the high beams, right? That we'll drive in a car and never turn the high beams on and just drive in the dark and crash. And that's what some people think we are as people. Like we're just ignorant by nature. But no, we have our high beams and our low beams on. We're living in the community. We know very well who's doing what and what sentences are appropriate. These are our children. These aren't strangers to us. You need to understand that when you're from outside of our community and you start having these conversations, these aren't some aliens that were dropped into our community. These are young people that are growing up and that are choosing the wrong path, and we know that there are reasons behind that, and we also know it has to stop. But this conversation from outside of our community, where some folks have been given the pat on the back to start feeling that comfortable preaching to black folks in Mississippi about welfare, that's why the system got bothered. That's crazy to me. Doesn't bother me because I may fully understand everything that's happening, so I can fill in all the gaps, right? And so then when I look at that as just an attempt to get radio ratings, which is fine, it's a radio show, I'm good with that. I promise you, I'm 100% good with that. But yeah, I'm there was another caller called in and said, well, our black kids, it was a different show, they had a microphone and a rap song stuck in front of them from the age of 8, and nothing else. That conversation never goes anywhere, because then you have to go look at the entities that own the rap labels, and you have to attack them. And you just can't attack young black kids anymore. You've got to actually attack someone with teeth to bite your back because you're messing up their money. And then we don't want to do that, right? And this is what's going to lead into your session, KP. The last thing that I noticed, that I wasn't even planning on talking about the show this morning till the sister brought it up. But another caller said this. He said, the reason our generation is going to be so much better off than this generation because the wealth is so much bigger than this generation. And he talks about how my generation, I'm assuming he's 55 or 60, and he commends